Discover the shocking truth Jesus revealed about strength, unbelievable lessons for today. The air crackled with tension as whispers filled the room, weaving a tapestry of curiosity and fear. What had Jesus said that could change everything? People glanced around with wide eyes, hearts pounding like war drums. Secrets lay heavy in the corners, waiting to be unearthed, waiting to expose truths that turned the very fabric of belief on its head. A glimmer of unease danced in the depths of their expressions: pain, hope, confusion. What did this all mean? In an old, dimly lit chapel, forgotten by time, a flickering candle illuminated an ancient scroll. The musty scent of aged paper mixed with the fresh sprigs of lavender someone had left as an offering. It was here, within these cracked walls, that it was said Jesus revealed profound lessons about strength, truths buried under layers of tradition and misinterpretation. One by one, gawkers peered over the shoulders of believers, all alike, trembling hands pressing against the damp stone, hoping to seize the wisdom whispered down through generations. But as the crowd murmured their collective disbelief, an unsettling shift in the air made the hushed voices die down to a breathless silence. What if this wasn't just a lesson about strength, but a call to arms? Eyes darted toward the worn altar, where a shadow for just a moment seemed to pulse with life, almost flickering like a dying ember igniting the very essence of their souls. Was the heaviness of this moment promising revelation, or was it pressing them to a brink they didn't know was possible? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The flickering light cast more than shadows, it painted a picture of hope against a relentless tide of doubt. The ancient scroll began to unfurl, revealing words etched in gold, shimmering with unearthly light. The crowd leaned in, hungering to grasp the message when suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the back. Someone had collapsed. Panic surged like a tidal wave, pushing through the onlookers, each feeling the tight grip of anxiety clawing at their throats. Who was down? Was it a sign, a warning? In those fleeting moments, the scroll held its breath, almost daring them to unlock its power. What dark or divine secret was buried within those ancient teachings? The energy thickened as they strained to hear the words, each soul drawn closer, tethered to the uncertainty. What if they were about to learn something that could redefine everything they held true? And with that thought hanging in the air like a fragile promise, who among them had the courage to stand up and seek the whole truth? The silence shattered. The crowd surged forward, a wave of bodies pushing to see what had happened. Someone shouted for help, and the commotion intensified. Panic seeped into the air, swirling like a storm. Eyes darted, breaths quickened. Was this a warning of what lay ahead? In the far corner, a young woman lay sprawled, her face ghostly pale against the stone floor. The fear etched on the faces around her mirrored the growing apprehension that crept into every heart. Still, the scroll remained untouched on the altar, a siren calling them closer, even as chaos reigned nearby. Step back. Give her space. A man in the front shouted, but his voice was lost amid the rising tide of noise. A few brave souls knelt beside the woman, their hands shaking as they pressed to check for a pulse. The flickering candlelight reflected off their anxious faces, each second stretching long and taut like a drawn bowstring, and then, against this backdrop of terror, the scroll began to emit a golden glow. It vibrated slightly as if resonating with unseen forces. The crowd, frozen in place, felt the pull, a gravity that transcended fear. What were these words that could bind the living and the divine? Suddenly, a low rumble echoed from the altar. Those closest to it staggered backward, startled as the scroll began to unroll fully, its golden letters dancing in the light. An electric sensation buzzed through the air. The fragrance of lavender transformed into something more potent, almost intoxicating, causing minds to reel from the unexpected shift. One figure among the crowd, a man with eyes bright like burning coals, stepped forward. "We must read it. It's our only chance." His voice sliced through the disarray, firm and resolute. But was it courage, or madness? The crowd's gaze shifted toward him, caught between the chaos and this unexpected beacon of daring. The woman on the floor stirred slightly, a faint sound escaping her lips, drawing attention away from the scroll. "Help!" she gasped, her eyes fluttering open just a crack. Relief mixed with fear. Would she reveal a secret of her own? "Stay with us!" someone cried. But the urgency of the moment pulled everyone's focus. The scroll glinted like it was alive, almost beckoning them to discover its secrets. "Jesus' strength," the man proclaimed again, stepping closer, "it's about facing our fears. This scroll, its words can give us power." Power. The word hung in the air, charged with potential. It tasted sweet and bitter at once. What kind of power? Was it a power to change? To heal? Or something darker lurking just beneath the surface? Just then, with a sharp intake of breath, the young woman sat upright, terror and revelation etched across her face. "I saw him, he was speaking to us." Her words spilled out like water breaking through a dam, each syllable echoing with urgency. Dread enveloped the chapel, mingling with a burgeoning hope. What had she seen? And if they followed this rabbit hole, where would it lead them? Each person wrestled silently with their own desire for strength to confront the unknown. Could Jesus' revelations hold the power to transform them? Or would they uncover horrifying truths best left buried? As they hovered on the precipice of discovery, the candle flickered violently, shadows stretching, and the scroll glimmered, ready to pour forth its wisdom or madness. The room held its breath. What would be unearthed next? Would they dare to know? And just as the tension reached a peak, the scroll began to whisper. The whisper grew louder, wrapping the crowd in an unsettling embrace. It was like a low wind, swirling with syllables that pushed and pulled at their very souls. "Seek and you shall find." The words hung heavy in the air, sending shivers down spines. An electric charge sparked between the people, their hearts racing with the promise of something monumental. "What does it mean?" Someone at the back answered, but his voice trembled, barely breaking through the growing cacophony of thoughts and fears. The man with the fiery gaze reached for the scroll, fingers trembling with anticipation. "It beckons us. It wants us to listen. Don't you feel it?" There was a madness bubbling beneath his breath, an intensity that was hard to ignore. As he moved closer to the altar, shadows danced along the cold stone, swaying in rhythm with his beating heart. The whispers intensified. Every head turned toward the scroll, and the tension surged, twisting into a knot of both eagerness and dread. Suddenly, the young woman's hands shot up to her temples. "No. Please. It's dangerous." Her voice rose above the clamor, the desperation re-breaking the atmosphere. "You don't know what lies beneath those words." Panic swept through the hall, eyes darting between the scroll and her pleading face. The man stepped back slightly, a sneer replacing the earlier resolve. "You must be afraid of what you saw. You think you understand what it means to confront fears. He showed you fears are one thing," she snapped, her voice slick with urgency. "But this isn't just fear. It's an unveiling, a truth that's beyond us." In that moment, the flickering candlelight violently extinguished, plunging them into darkness. Gasps echoed, voices momentarily silenced, hearts pounding in the pitch. The air thickened, breathing felt suspended, stretched between breaths. The dying light of the scroll began to pulse, awakening, guiding them back into focus. Then, as if someone had flicked a switch, a blinding light erupted from the altar. The scroll illuminated the chapel, casting golden shadows that twisted and turned on the walls, growing and shrinking like the very sanity they were on the verge of losing. I felt it. I felt the woman trembled, her voice drowning in a sea of lost thoughts. "It showed me, it showed us what we can become." Screams erupted as people rushed for the exits, desperation thrumming through them like a raw nerve. The room transformed into chaos, bodies colliding, elbows jabbing, all seeking escape from what felt like a secret too grand, too perilous, but the man with the burning eyes stood firm, rooted before the altar, power. He shouted, spitting the word like a prayer. This can lead us to freedom. We're on the brink, people. His face glowed under the mystical light, shadowed by chaotic fear swirling around him. The scroll-less whispers shifted, blending into an echo of 1,000 voices, each one urging them to step forward, to embrace the knowledge unfurling from the ancient parchment. The man leaned closer, his face a canvas of fierce determination, and as the light peaked, spiraling upward, it revealed a vision. Figures' shadows emerged, hovering in the splitting energy. They held promises, lyres, and sacred truths, everything they desired yet feared to grasp. The crowd stood frozen again, suspended in a moment of indecision. Would they seize the knowledge being offered, or would the fear of enlightenment thrust them deeper into darkness? As the light flickered one last time, the tension spiraled like a tightening coil, ready to burst. The whispers beckoned once more, reverberating through the air. What will you choose? The last word hung, echoing, trembling. The choice loomed. Would they succumb to the power or be claimed by the shadows lurking just outside their reach? The atmosphere crackled with anticipation, each breath taken in held tight like a secret. The chaos slowly receded as the fiery-eyed man, seemingly oblivious to the frenzy, remained transfixed. He appeared to draw strength from the pulsing light, his jaw clenched with a fervor that both captivated and terrified. Listen! He called, his voice slicing through the residual panic like a knife. Do you hear them? The voices? They're offering us knowledge, power. We must not hide from the truth. The young woman, still trembling, stepped forward with an uneasy resolve. But what if that truth is more than we can handle? The flickering shadows at her feet danced in response, as if mocking her hesitation. A woman in the crowd shouted, "We should leave. We've seen enough. This madness will consume us." No. The fiery-eyed man thundered, eyes ablaze with passion. When will we have another opportunity like this? This is our chance to seize destiny. His intensity spread like wildfire, igniting something in the others, drawing them nearly to him, despite their fears. Then came the whisper again. It surged, rose higher, demanding attention. Seek and you shall find. A collective shiver swept through the chapel. People exchanged nervous glances, their resolve waning. What they thought might be destiny now felt more like a curse lurking beneath a shimmering surface. The scroll-less chaotic energy wrapped tighter around them, blurring the lines of right and wrong, drawing the already shook minds even closer to the edge. The woman, her hands now shaking, forced her voice to rise. If you go, you may never return. But the incendiary man motioned her to silence, a glare sharp enough to cut through the doubt in the air. What if we could achieve more than we ever dreamed? We can face whatever lies ahead. In that moment, a bolt of fear coursed through the crowd, rippling in waves. An elderly man near the back uttered, "And what if satisfaction demands a price, one too high for us to pay?" His stance was resolute, intertwined with caution, grounding the moment in a stark reality. The uncertainty of what lay ahead was often steeped in hazard. The bated breath of the crowd vibrated like strings about to snap. They were perched precariously, a pendulum swinging between action and inaction. The voices grew louder, reaching a fever pitch, converging into a singular murmur, a sound both inviting and terrifying. The scroll burned bright, lighting their faces with hues of gold and shadow, illuminating hidden fears and faced truths. The light intensified, revealing not just the menacing whispers but the shadows behind them, ghastly figures that hovered, eyes like dark wells of despair. Everything you desire, everything you fear. The man yelled, trembling, his own conviction cracking under the weight of the unleashing horror. It's all connected. And then, as if a dam had burst, the figures surged closer. Ghostly hands reached out, seeking purchases on the soft, supple flesh of their new disciples. Panic constricted their throats as shrieks echoed through the chapel. Some turned to flee, while others clung to the man like moths to a flame, entranced by the promise he held. The division etched itself deep, a clear line drawn in the sand. Are you with me? His voice boomed, striving to pierce the chaos? Or do you cower in the doubts of what could be? As the advancing shadows threatened to engulf them, the woman looked on, terror and fascination colliding within her aching chest. She could sense the inevitability of the choice. They all faced a choice that would determine their fates. Suddenly, a piercing cry cut through the air, "No!" It came from a young boy, eyes wide with terror. He didn't move to flee, but instead, he pointed directly at the altar. Everyone's gaze followed instinctively to where the boy's finger trembled. There, beneath the scroll, a deep, swirling darkness coiled, a void breathing, hungry and ancient. "Step forward," the voice commanded again, "embrace your future." Would anyone be brave enough to confront the unknown, or had fear already claimed them all? The light flickered. Shadows loomed. And the choice hung heavy in the air. What would they decide? Would they step into the light, or be swallowed whole by the secrets of the abyss? The fear hung thick in the air, and hearts raced like wild horses. Each pair of eyes darted around the room, some pleading, others eager. The young woman stood frozen, wrestling with her own thoughts, unsure if she could bear the burden of what lay beyond that swirling darkness. A force urged her closer, but the chill of dread clawed at her spine, anchoring her in place. "Look!" The boy's voice rang out again, louder now, more insistent. "It's pulling us." There was no denying it now. The shadows danced violently, a black whirlpool tugging at their very souls. A few of the more daring souls took tentative steps forward, transforming fear into resolution, while others remained rooted in disbelief. "Whatever it is, it feels wrong," the trembling woman managed, her voice barely more than a whisper. Yet the others were shaking their heads, caught in a trance. The fiery-eyed man exuded pure zeal, his energy captivating them all. "It's a gift," he proclaimed, striding forward, arrogance fueling his courage. "We cannot deny our destiny." But the closer he approached, the more the shadows writhed around him, their edges curling as if drawn to him. He stretched out his hand, willing the darkness to submit, and for a moment, there seemed a flicker of starlight from beyond. Suddenly, the air felt heavy. The darkness pulsed in response, a heartbeat of its own. And then, it all erupted. A scream pierced the sanctuary. A woman had stumbled back, caught in an unseen grip, her feet lifting from the ground as if the void had manifestly reached out to claim her. "Help! Someone, please!" she cried. Chaos ensued. Bodies flailed, some rushing to help, others bolting towards the exit, hearts pounding with primal fear. The fiery-eyed man, emboldened by the fray, shouted louder, "Stand! Do not let fear dictate your fate." But the moans rising from the shadows drowned his voice. It felt like a dark tide crashing against their spirits. The elderly man, who stood firm against the madness earlier, now yelled, "We must retreat. This is a trap. Control is slipping." In that split second, the boy was at the altar, hands outstretched, eyes ablaze with awe and terror. "I want to see," he shouted, voice breaking. The shadows recoiled for a heartbeat, and the air crackled with a volatile shift. The girl's heart raced. Torn between fear for the boy and the allure of the abyss, she felt her own footing slip. "No. Come back. You don't know what you're doing." As if guided by an otherworldly force, the boy's hand slipped into the swirling darkness, and a flash of blinding light erupted from the altar. He screamed, a mixture of shock and wonder. The chaotic energy exploded around them, light battling the shadows in a dazzling display of contrasts. With each pulse, the air thickened. The congregation stood enthralled or frozen in time. She could feel the floor shake beneath her, a warning, an invitation. "Come." It was the voice again, singular now, drowning out the chaos. "Claim your destiny." The fiery-eyed man reached out to the boy, and others followed suit, arms extended as if to save him even as shadows clung to their limbs, unwilling to be shaken off. For a heartbeat, it seemed possible that they could rescue him. But the shadows surged, a tempest of despair and longing, threatening to swallow them whole. Make your choice. The voice thundered again. The group grappled with their decisions, agonizing over what it meant to face the truth. Would they be forever changed, even if it meant facing their worst nightmares? As the boy's scream melded with the swirling chaos, the darkness thickened, swallowing the light whole. What had first shone as a beacon of hope now felt like a dark pit of deceit. What choice would they make in that moment of clash and tumult? Would they bind themselves to darkness, or fight to break free? Above it all, the shadows loomed, hungry and relentless, and then, a word, a name echoed through the chaos, whispered on the wind, but unheard by most. Just one word that could change everything. Awakening. What awaited them was a revelation beyond imagination. But would they be brave enough to embrace it? The blinding light burst forth like a supernova, illuminating every crevice of the eerie sanctuary. For a fleeting moment, the shadows recoiled, as if afraid of the brilliance that filled the room. Gasps erupted from those nearest the altar, their eyes squinting in disbelief. But the boy, caught in the grip of the darkness, began to thrash wildly, desperation etched across his face. The girl stumbled forward, her heart pounding against her ribs. "Hold on!" she screamed, voice raw. She could see the fiery-eyed man's face twisted in both concentration and fear, yet he maintained his grasp on the boy. Around them, chaos reigned. People screamed, some clawing at the floor, others throwing themselves against the walls as they searched for a way out. "Don't you see?" the fiery-eyed man yelled, his voice cutting through the din. "This is our chance. We can harness this power." Power? The girl felt a bitter taste at the back of her throat. This wasn't power, it was madness. She gripped the edge of the altar, taking in the swirling shadows coalescing like a storm, howling with both anguish and hunger. Each gust left a chill creeping under her skin, a reminder of what lay beyond, waiting for them. The elderly man, now painted in shades of fear, shouted, "This is darkness, not destiny. We must leave now." He turned, panic igniting his steps, and countless others followed suit, a tide flowing away from the altar, but the boy's voice cut through the chaos, pleading. "Help me. I'm scared." "No." The girl's voice was fierce, battling against the swirling dread. "We can't leave him." Uncertainty gripped her, an iron vice around her heart. She lunged for the boy but felt invisible hands grasp her ankles, holding her back. The shadows were relentless, their grip tightening, as if warning her to stay away. "Let go of him!" she shrieked, determination surging through her. The shadows pulsated violently, as if mocking her plea, but the boy's terrified eyes locked onto hers, and in that moment, she felt something change. A flicker of strength ignited within her. "What is wrong with us?" she cried out, voice breaking under the weight of despair. "How can we let fear control our choices? We have to fight for what's right, for each other." The fiery-eyed man's voice faltered as doubt washed over him. Was this truly a gift? The shadows trembled, as if considering her words. Suddenly, a figure emerged through the chaos, a woman with wild hair, her face streaked with dirt but her eyes burning with clarity. "We must join hands," she shouted. "Together, we can push back the darkness." Those nearby hesitated but then found themselves instinctively reaching out, forming a chain. The girl felt the warmth of their hands. One by one, more joined, until it felt like a living wall against the encroaching shadows. The shadows lunged, furious, crashing against the newfound barrier, but the combined strength of their connection pushed back. Rumbles echoed, and light flickered, a pulse thrumming through their bonds. With a determined twist, the girl gripped the boy's wrist, locking eyes with him, urging him to hold on. "You can do this. Fight back." The boy's trembling hand squeezed back. That bond, however tenuous, sparked a shift in power. "Awakening," echoed the mysterious voice, stronger now, rising above the chaos. It seemed to breathe into life the very air around them, cultivating a shared resilience. But it felt like a game of tug-of-war between light and dark, and the outcome teetered on a knife edge. Would they ultimately break the chains and emerge victorious, or be consumed by the shadows? With every heartbeat, the tension thickened. Would salvation lie in unity? Or would the darkness swallow them whole, leaving only whispers of their existence? The blast of light surged once more, and with it came a startling truth that no one could predict. What will be revealed? The girl whispered as dread and hope intertwined in her heart. The pulse of light filled the sanctuary, surging like a tidal wave, and with it came the distinct feeling of weightlessness. In that moment, the girl felt as if the world around her melted away, replaced by pure energy and connection. But just as quickly, shadows clawed back, desperate to regain their hold. "Keep holding on," she shouted as the boy's grip tightened around her wrist. She could see the flicker of fear in his eyes replaced by something more powerful: determination. Just as the shadows swirled furiously against their barrier, the fiery-eyed man shouted, "We can reshape this. Everything we thought we knew, no. This isn't right," screamed the girl, her heart racing. "This isn't a gift, it's a trap." But her plea cut through the air, landing heavy among the tumultuous energies around them. The woman with wild hair, standing tall despite the chaos earlier, nodded fervently. "She's right. We cannot let it sway us. Our strength lies in our unity, not in giving in to our fears." The swirl of shadows hesitated for a brief moment. This flicker of vulnerability gave a fleeting glimmer of hope. They all felt it: the solid connection of their hands, the bond that fortified them against the impending doom. The boy's eyes shone, reflecting the flames of vigor igniting within their makeshift circle. As if to respond, the darkness roared, an anguished cry that echoed through the cavernous space. It lunged forward, as if to break them, to scatter the brave souls holding fast. The air thickened and grew colder, a tangible weight settling on their shoulders, pressing down with an insistence that robbed the breath from their lungs. "Don't let go," the girl urged, taking a deep breath despite the dread welling up like a stone in her stomach. She focused on the boy, eyes locked onto his, willing him to believe. "It's us against them. Together." Just then, a crack split the air, sharp and electric. An arch of blue-white light burst from their grasp, illuminating the fleeing shadows. Eyes wide, gasps followed the crack, and more souls grasped hands, drawn by the blast. The circle widened, each new person filling them with strength, like roots connecting deeper into rich soil. Yet, just as the shadows staggered, they regrouped, swift and menacing. "You think you can resist?" A whisper sliced through the cacophony, malevolent and chilling. It felt like ice ran down the spine, a sound that threatened to unravel their fragile alliance. "Stay strong," the wild-haired woman declared, a fierce light dancing in her eyes. Her voice carried conviction, igniting a spark in others. "Face them. Remember who you are." But doubt lurked in the corners of many minds. What if their strength wasn't enough? What if the darkness knew their deepest fears and exploited them? Panic began to ripple, but the girl took a step forward, still holding the boy's hand. "Listen," she rasped, her voice slicing through doubt. "We've survived worse. We've lost, we've felt despair, but we're still here. We have to fight for one another. I believe we're meant for more than this darkness." The shadows recoiled, as if their own presence began to falter under the light of her words. A sudden flash ignited above them, a comet of brilliance whirling through the air. It blazed a path toward the altar, singing through the chaotic winds within. "What is that?" someone gasped, eyes widening at the spectacle. The girl hesitated, struck dumb by the emergence of something even greater than the light they summoned. Whatever it was, it trembled with raw, pulsating energy. Hope and despair intertwined like vines, and as she gazed at the approaching light, she felt a mixture of dread and exhilaration. Would this burst bring salvation, or would it plunge them deeper into hopelessness? And then, as the comet drew closer, a voice called out. It was hers, yet it seemed familiar, beckoning her from beyond the veil of shadows. "Embrace the light. What are you willing to sacrifice? Her heart hammered in her chest. What would she give to protect the boy, to free them all? What truth about herself lay hidden beneath? Layers of fear. The moment hung suspended in time, crackling with intensity. What awaited her on the other side of that light? She had to know. The light engulfed them, a wave of radiance that carried the weight of 1,000,000 suns, and she felt the boy's grip slipping, all because she was trapped in the moment, suspended between fear and courage. Hold on! She shouted, the words pouring from her lips like a desperate prayer. Suddenly, the light fractured, revealing faces in its luminous core, people she recognized, people she had lost, people who had become shadows of their former selves. Their voices called to her, a chorus of longing, help us. Don't forget us. Panic surged like an electric current as she locked eyes with the boy. What if this is their last chance? What if we lose them forever? The vibrant light pulsated, wrapping around the girl, tugging at her heart. But the shadows were not idle. They snarled, shifting with an insatiable hunger, coiling around footfalls like serpents ready to strike. The tantalizing glow now flickered, casting flickering shadows that danced dangerously close to swallowing them whole. The fiery-eyed man raised his voice, trying to rally their spirits. We must step forward. Only through the light can we escape the darkness. But doubt gnawed at her insides, tightening like a noose. What if we step into the light, and it's a lie? What if we're walking into? No. The wild-haired woman barked, her voice a volcanic eruption against the creeping despair. We move together. No one gets left behind. And somewhere deep within, the girl found a flicker of resolve igniting. She turned to the boy, her voice softening. You're all I have, I can't lose you, not again, his eyes filled with understanding. We're meant to do this. Trust in what we have, in each other. In that moment, with fear ringing in her ears and hope shining in her heart, the girl knew the time had come for a sacrifice, though she still didn't understand the cost. She could feel the thunderous heartbeat of the universe pulsing through her, as if the very fabric of reality was stretching thin. Right, she said, feeling her body glow with determination. Together. On 3. They counted out loud, voices mingling, merging the warmth of their unity. 1, 2, 3. They leapt forward, stepping into the blinding light with fervor. The radiance enveloped them entirely, and she felt the shadows shatter, scattering like shattered glass. But as they surged into the light, pain seared through her. A sharp cry escaped her lips as if a piece of her was being pulled away. Let it go, the boy screamed. The vision ahead shimmered, distorting into an amalgam of colors and sensations. She glimpsed faces she thought she would never see again, shadows of loved ones intertwined with haunting echoes of the past. Join us, we need you, their whispers tangled with the energy swirling around them. Stop! She shrieked, trying to pull back, but her feet wouldn't obey. The brilliance beckoned, a magnetic force beyond her comprehension. Stop! I don't want to forget. A violent rush overwhelmed her. She felt memories bleed, fragments of laughter, of sadness, of moments that made her who she was, all slipping like grains of sand through her fingers. The boy reached for her, eyes wide with terror, and the shadows howled in fury. No! Not now! She screamed against the chaotic noise. There was darkness amid the light, a shadowy figure rising from the remnants of the fading abyss. An echo of malice surrounded it as it reached out, fingers curling like claws. What have you chosen to give? It hissed, a mocking tone laced with danger, and then, all at once, time seemed to halt. The boy's grip grew into a vice as he held on to her, his quiet strength radiating reassurance. What will you choose? The voice repeated, an insidious challenge that vibrated through her very soul. She stared into the abyss, heart pounding. What am I willing to sacrifice? The world spun, the light and darkness merging into a chaotic dance around her. Hope and despair tangled dangerously, making her breath catch in her throat. The question lingered, more foreboding than ever. What awaited her in this surreal mix of illumination and shadows? The realization hit. Like cold water, sometimes the greatest sacrifice is the truth we hide from ourselves. With a deep breath, she stepped forward, ready to embrace what lay beyond, unaware of the true cost of her decision. The moment she stepped forward, it was like piercing the veil between life and death. Her heart raced as a torrent of light consumed her, but the shadows writhed at the edges, unfurling with hungry anticipation. Everything melted away, colors blending, sounds distorting into a deafening roar. "Hold on!" She called out to the boy, but her words were swallowed by the swirling chaos around them. His face twisted in anguish, eyes wide, a mirror of her own fear. The warmth of his grip flickered like a candle in a storm. "Stay with me!" he shouted back, fighting against the tide of panic, but already she could see him starting to fade into the luminous throng. Desperation clawed at her throat. Memories flashed like lightning, moments of laughter, the taste of ice cream on a summer day, whispers in the dark, until these precious fragments began to slip away like smoke through her fingers. "Not again!" she cried desperately, stretching her hands toward him, but an unseen force pulled them apart. Each inch between them felt like an eternity, wrenched by invisible despair. "Remember!" The fiery-eyed man's shout pierced through the cacophony, "Remember why you fight." That mantra was a lifeline. She focused on the faces in the light, the people she once knew, a constellation of love and loss. She remembered their laughter, their hopes, the promises meant to endure. Those memories coalesced into something solid inside her, a rod of steel anchoring her in the storm. The shadows, however, sensed her resolve. They surged forward, more aggressive now, whispering secrets, weaving lies that crawled into her mind. "You'll be nothing without us. They've all forgotten you, don't you see? Join us." The wild-haired woman turned, eyes blazing like stars. "You have the power within you. Don't listen to them." Her voice was a flare in the dark, igniting something fierce within the girl's heart. "Together!" she screamed, now feeling the boy's presences more acutely than ever, her bond with him infused with strength. The girl summoned every ounce of her spirit, pushing against the shadow's grasp. "I won't forget. I won't lose you." The earth shifted beneath her, the foundation trembling under the weight of her truth. She reached deeper, past the light and the shadows, finding the core of her being, the love and pain, the struggles and triumphs that made her who she was. In one fluid motion, she extended her hand, feeling the rush of the boy's fingers clasp her own. "Together!" she shouted again, spirit surging, and as their fingers intertwined, everything exploded into cascades of color, but darkness clawed viciously, the shadowy figure unseen beneath the brilliance. "You think you can escape this? You must pay. What will it be?" She felt the boy's warmth surge through her, fortifying her. "I don't care what it costs," she yelled defiantly. "I choose love. I choose." Then, a chilling chill swept through her words, scattering them like autumn leaves. The radiant glow pulsed one last time, booming resolutely but also unsettlingly low, resonating with her fears, her doubts, gently echoing, "What is love without sacrifice? What will you truly lose?" Terror gripped her as reality twisted again. The shadows surged around them, slick and silent, feeding off her unease, coiling around both of them. "I won't give in," she roared, standing firm, but even as she spoke those words, her resolve began to waver. What was the cost of love against such a deafening void? The boy squeezed her hand tighter. She could feel his heartbeat pulsing alongside her own, steady and resolute. "I'm here. We're here," he murmured, a promise against the tide of encroaching shadows, but in that moment of defiance, something harsh and unfamiliar twisted through her, piercing through her spirit. Her heart raced not just with fear, but with trepidation of a new kind. What if she discovered an undeniable truth, one that could unravel everything she believed? A dark chaos rippled through the light. The question hung heavy, suffocating. How much was she willing to sacrifice, and what truth was she about to uncover? The shadows lurched closer, reaching for them, and as their grip tightened, she realized the perilous journey ahead was just beginning. The blinding light shimmered like the dawn breaking through, purging the night as the girl and boy held onto each other, determination burning in their eyes. The shadows coiled painfully around them, desperate to pull them back into despair, but together they stood resolute, souls intertwined against the encroaching darkness. "Run!" someone shouted, but the girl couldn't. The weight of their memories, the laughter, loss, dreams, and fears fueled her resolve. "No. We face it together." She squeezed the boy's hand, and he nodded, embers of courage igniting between them. "Together," he echoed, a rallying cry that resonated through the chaos. "We'll find the truth." The swirling shadows roared, their voices a chilling symphony of despair, each whisper promising security in the darkness. "You'll regret this," but the girl's spirit surged, a rippling force that pushed back against the tide. "We remember. We choose love." With those words, something shifted. The luminous energy around them pulsated brighter, and the shadows recoiled, halting their advance, stunned by the power of belief. The mantra solidified into a shield, shimmering like a barrier against all the fears they carried and all the burdens they dared to release. The boy's eyes widened as he saw a pathway open before them, a trail woven with strands of light. "Lead the way!" he cried, breathless with faith. And then they ran, bolstered by a chorus of voices, friends and family, spirits of hope intertwining with theirs, urging them onward. They could feel the shadows lingering at their heels, but it mattered little. As long as they held on to each other, the light would guide them through the storm. They sprinted forward, fingers woven tight, hearts synchronized in rhythm. The air cracked with energy, swirling around them, whipping like a tempest determined to tear them apart. Suddenly, the blinding light split, revealing a chamber bathed in warmth, a sanctuary filled with vibrance and life. "We're safe!" the boy exclaimed, eyes dancing with astonishment. But the shadows whispered still, clawing at the edges of the chamber, seeking a chink in their newfound armor. "You think you've escaped? You'll never be free. The past is always with you." The girl felt her resolve waver, a flicker of guilt igniting, but the boy's grip tightened reassuringly around her wrist. "Remember what we chose. Love. It's larger than the darkness. It binds us." His words surged through her heart like a wildfire, igniting forgotten hopes and dreams. As they took a step into the light, a figure appeared, a woman, angelic yet fierce, her eyes shimmering with wisdom. "You've faced the abyss and chosen love. You understand the price, yes?" The girl felt her pulse race. "What is the cost?" "Acceptance," the woman whispered, "of everything you are, every shred of your past, and letting it ignite your future." It hung in the air, a beautiful burden and a heavy truth. "We can do that," the girl said, feeling the truth surging with each beat of her heart. "The power is in facing it all. Together." With a nod, the woman extended her hands. Light enveloped them, a honeysuckle aroma wafting through the air, a tangible manifestation of love and belonging. As the shadows continued their encroaching threat, the girl inhaled deeply, her chin lifted. "We embrace our past as we step forward into the future." She and the boy linked their other free hand in the formation with the woman, their circle complete. "Awakening," the woman proclaimed, and the trio shone like bright stars against the encroaching void. The darkness recoiled, hissing against the light as the chamber vibrated with the resonance of collective memory. Each memory flooded her mind, every sacrifice, joy, sorrow, and triumph creating a chorus of truth stronger than any shadow could withstand. "Let go!" the boy shouted, and in response, a burst of light erupted, a radiant wave that surged into the shadows. With its pressing force, the light melded with the darkness, collapsing the distance between love and pain, illuminating both as sacred parts of the truth. A roar erupted as the shadows splintered, disintegrating into whispers before dissolving completely. Breathless, the girl looked into the boy's eyes, the weight of the moment settling around them. "We did it, yes," he breathed, awe and relief flooding his voice. The woman nodded, now radiant with the glow of 1,000 affirmations emanating from their unity. "You have embraced love's truth. This is the power you sought. Own it. Live it. Share it. As the chamber stabilized, they stepped into a realm filled with light freedom painted in hues of hope, bathed in warmth. The girl turned, hands still clasped with the boy's. This is just the beginning. Together, he reiterated, a smile spreading across his face pure and unhindered. And as they walked forward, side by side, laughter echoed around them, a new reality unfurling, a tapestry of strength woven with love. They were the architects of their fate, resolute in their next chapter. The future awaited them, bright and boundless. And now, it's time for you to make a choice. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to help us feed the algorithm. We want to hear your thoughts, so flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. This is the moment to show your support. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Spread the light.